Okay. Here's the question that like I wanted to talk about. Like some people are looking at 3I-Atlas, and I saw online they were saying that 3I-Atlas was essentially this mothership that would be traveling across the stars and coming to Earth, right? So like my thing about it is any civilization that's advanced enough to travel, like our nearest like solar system to us is like, or even the nearest galaxy to us is like 300 million light years or something like that. It's either 300 million light years or 300,000 light years. But let's say conservative 300,000 light years from us, right? 300,000 light years. That means that if you were able to travel at the speed of light, it would take you 300,000 years to get from Earth to there and back, right? Earth to there or there to Earth. If that was the case, right, that civilization that's able to travel that distance would be ridiculously advanced, right? That's something that everyone can come to terms and agree with. But my argument that I would like to pose is if that society is ridiculously advanced, it would have to be a peaceful society. It would have to be a peaceful society. That's my argument. And the reason why I say that is because look at us on Earth today, right? We haven't had a major worldwide conflict since World War II because of the invention of the nuclear bomb. It effectively created peace. No major power in the world can go to war with each other head on head. They always have to use proxies to go. They have to pick like some country that they represent, and then that country goes to war with some other non-nuclear powered country for a war, some type of conflict to go on, or even sometimes like that proxy country would fight a nuclear powered country, like in the case of like Ukraine versus Russia, right? Like US and the European Union support Ukraine while Ukraine is actually fighting the Russians, etc., right? So there's no like head-on-head conflict. And my point to that is like if two advanced powers did go head-to-head, they would probably wipe each other out. They would kill each other off. Like I read that there were over like 300 instances where like the world almost fell into nuclear Armageddon. Like one was like back in the 80s or something where like Soviet, I guess the people that managed the silos, they picked up that the US fired nuclear weaponry towards Russia, but it turns out their systems were on some type of I guess a demo or like a security test, and they didn't know that the security test was still running under like a hypothetical situation, not like a real live system, but it was like a test system. And so when it came time to choose whether to fire or not, they were like, oh no, we can't fire. Surely this is a fake reading, whatever. The Americans didn't fire on us, right? Why would they fire if like and at the time too, it was like their prime minister or one of their diplomats was there visiting Moscow at the time. So they're like, why would they fire when a US diplomat is like in Moscow? So basically like all of these different instances out of the 300 instances, that's just one. Like out of all these instances, you never had an actual situation where people chose to fire. And I believe that the reason why they didn't choose to fire is because they know that to fire means like the destruction of the world on a large sense. And so you have to think that any advanced society that could travel that 300,000 light years has to have weaponry similar that could warp space-time. You'd have to have like weaponry like quantum bombs, the things that can just like absolutely just like create ripples in space-time that would allow you to travel that distance. Or you would have to have engines that's powerful enough to go faster than the speed of light and have warp drives that could go faster than the speed of light. And in that sense, well, I think a warp drive would maybe warp space-time. Maybe that's why they call it a warp drive. I don't know. But like my point is like the technology you would have to have would be so advanced, so much more advanced than ours, that in order for you to cover that distance, you would effectively have to be some type of peaceful, homogenous society that couldn't go to war with each other. That not even couldn't, that could go to war with each other, but chooses not to go to war with each other because of the understanding that going to war with each other leads to the fundamental destruction of your society as a whole, right? So if there were alien visitors from 3I-Atlas, it shouldn't be something that we should worry about. If anything, it should be something that we should be happy about, because that means that they are, to some degree or another, a peaceful society. And they're probably there to help us. And also, you have to think too that, like, what is the one thing that any intellectual you ever meet wants to do? They want to teach you, right? They want to teach you. They never want to conquer anything. No intellectual you'll ever meet ever wants to conquer anybody, because they look at the act of it as, like, to some degree or another, barbaric. And it almost like they view it as like a non-genuine form of control, compared to like letting that person come to their own decisions on their own, right? They prefer that. Like, especially if they can convince you or like get you to like see their side and their point of view, they're more willing to do that than they are to like actually attempt to use violence in any way, right? So I would argue that it would be more likely that they would come here, probably share information, share tools, share resources, and like show us things that we might need to help advance our society in a helpful and more stable way, than to actually go to war with us or like fight with us or engage with us, even if we engaged with them in any type of aggressive manner. They would be far more likely to choose to try to navigate that type of environment in a more calmer way, because maybe that is more in line with their society, I feel like. Yeah. I don't think we have to worry about them. That's like the gist of this video. I don't think we have to worry about them. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that like you would travel all this. And also too, you got to think, like, if you're a really advanced society and you've mastered the ability to warp space-time, I think even before mastering space-time, you'd at least be able to master matter, just space and matter. You'd think that like you wouldn't need to come to Earth, because you would be able to terraform any planet that you'd want. You wouldn't need to like come here for our resources at all. I think even like on the level of like food, like if you needed food or you needed like corn or something like that, I think like they would be able to build like their own little artificial sun in underground bunkers and have their own like greenhouses and underground bunkers that they use to like grow all their crops and everything. I don't think they would need to come here. Like, I read that like if you got like a 200 square foot of solar panels out in a place like Arizona, you could power the entire United States off of the sunlight energy off of that. So like I look at that and I'm like, it might be a little bit bigger, but it's like in that ballpark, something in that ballpark. And if you even do it in the Sahara Desert, you could power the whole world, supposedly, right? It might be a little bigger, it might be off by like 30%, 20%. But let's say like that's the case. Like, I think the only reason why us as a society, we're not advancing towards like these levels is just because it's not profitable at the moment to like make these big swaps. And like so many industries would be so negatively affected that we're not going to do that. But at the same time, I think like something like this, if it were to ever happen, if it were to ever occur, would be more on the beneficial end, so to say, you know? Yeah. Imagine the aliens come and they look just like us, but they're taller. I had a dream about that once. I had a dream when I was like 8 years old that aliens came to Earth, but the aliens were like 12-foot tall individuals. They weren't like that much different from us, but they were like super tall. And I sit down there and look at them, I'm like, damn, that would be really fucking cool. Imagine. Ah, dude. Anyways, like, you know, drop some comments. Let me know what you think. I'll see you guys in the next video. And yeah, I'm starting to make like these kind of videos too, because I think like part of me is like, oh, hey, like, do I want to like write down my thoughts and my feelings? And I'm like, no. I think it would be better and more beneficial in the long run just to like post videos every day and like see like how that works out, and like just experience life through that and use that as like a journaling experience, not even like for other people to see, but more so just like for me to like note my own thoughts and my own experiences and like my theories and my ideas, than to like write it down. Because if you write it down, it's like, I think that if Einstein had the opportunity and the ability to like make videos about his thoughts, like he would do that stuff. You know, like if any great thinker that you've ever met, and if you want to be a great thinker, like they would document these things. They would just put it online and like have it bounce around other people. Let other people critique your thoughts. Let other people look at your thoughts and be like, huh, like I don't like that. I don't like that. Like he said that, or I like that he said that, and I think that's a good idea. And like da da da. And then it's like it's way less on your shoulder, and like it frees you, because now it's like whenever I like watch like a video online about 3I-Atlas, I'm like, I made a video on 3I-Atlas, and like somebody wrote their opinion on it. So like I don't even have to like go in the comments and write my little opinion on it, because like I made a video on it, and like, you know, like people can see my opinion off of my video if they like my video. So it's like, okay, it frees up your mind. I think it frees up your mind, because the problem with today's day and age in society is like we sit down here and we watch other people's opinions, and then it's like you're watching other people's opinions and it's like the thoughts are just circling in your head and you're not like expressing those thoughts. Whereas like I think humanity was like made to like, you have the thoughts, you want to express your thoughts, you want to share your thoughts. You're not just meant to consume thoughts and like not just like let it out and like think it. And the fact that like I'm letting this thought out now about like 3I-Atlas or whatever, right? Because I'm letting it out, I'm freeing my mind to now think about other thoughts. And that's like the upside to like documenting this. And then like I can go back and I can look at my thought and be like, oh wow, I like this thought, or that was like a reach and a half. Like I like the fact that I could like look back and review it, and not only review the thought but also review myself and like see myself in that point in time while I'm making that decision, while I'm looking at it, and be like, oh wow, like I had that point of view. But yeah, it's funny.